All right, well, cheers and welcome to another weekly edition of Happy Hour with the Lincoln. We're now on episode number 55, where I'll do my best to answer all of your stock market related questions. So if you're sitting there and you're like, I've got a question that the world needs an answer to, do me a favor, send it to support@thelincolnlist.com. I'll do my best to put it on some of these upcoming episodes. Also, if you're sitting there saying to yourself, I need help trading, I want to be a trader, I want to make the money, then do me a favor. Click on this link. It'll take you to our live trade room. You can start trading with us live immediately. Now, I also mentioned last week as well, we're going to be doing one of our upcoming mini course classes, mini camp. I only do a couple of these a year, so if you're interested in taking your trader education to another level, comes with a free DVD and access to our live trade room as well, then I'll put the link here somewhere. I shall place it on this screen. Click if you are interested. Now, enough of the plugs. Let's get down to business. I want to talk about something different today. And what I want to do, if you remember, you go back to the chimp paradox. I think it was a few happy hours ago. I started alternating with just not answering questions, because let's face it, many of the questions are the same. But I wanted to put more psychological topics in and things that I have been reading. Now, I put reading in quotes because it's not like I have some library in my house and I sit there every night on a leather chair, smoking a pipe, spinning the globe, reading my books. I really hate reading, but I'm trying to make changes in my life. 20 years after trading, much which has been very successful, I'm still trying to master myself, work on my demons, and get better every day. So I committed to change. So I am going to start reading. It seems like all rich, wealthy, highly successful people read. Can't hurt, so I'm trying to read. And I appreciate all the stuff you guys have sent me. So while I was doing some reading and research, I came across a topic called decision fatigue. Now, this came from some of the stuff that I was reading from Warren Buffett. And this is something that seemed to be a pattern with a lot of really, really successful people like Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg, Warren Buffett, and many others. Highly, when I'm saying like billionaire successful, is they have this basic concept of how many decisions or the types of decisions that they make every day. Because there's this theory that you're only capable of making so many good decisions. So I looked this up and I was doing some research on it, and it says that you can make on average of 30 to 35,000 decisions every day. That seems absurd, but you know, it's everywhere. It's just like the statistics. I'm like, damn, that's a lot. 35,000 decisions that you make every day. So these theories, and I've heard this talk amongst others on TED Talks and stuff with Bill Gates and other people, that you're only capable of making so many quality decisions. You can make these decisions, but when you're talking about really important, effective decision making, you only have the capabilities to do so many. And what's bizarre about this is, these numbers just sound absurd, don't they? Is that you make about 300 decisions every day just based on what you're going to eat. And this makes perfect sense when they're talking about wearing the same clothes, keeping their life simple, because let me get to this point, is that, let's say, for example, you're making these 300 decisions every day just on what you're going to eat. That's like 2,000 to 2,100 decisions per week that you're making on just what you eat. So think about all the stuff you ate over the last 7 days. You spent 2,000 of your brain power decision-making capabilities on that food. So if someone was to make you food, let's say somebody would like to take that off the table for you, or you made your food every Sunday, and then you ate the same thing every day. I'm not saying that you should do this. I'm just hypothetically stating for the sake of conversation. I'm not asking you to do this. But that would remove 2,000 decisions from you every week. If you wore the same clothes every day, that would probably, remove another couple of thousand decisions. And that's what these billionaires, when you're reading through some of their literature and how they got started and the way they view business, so many of them say the same things, that taking away all of those smaller decisions allows them to focus on larger stuff. And this makes perfect sense, right? I mean, it makes perfect sense. So when you're thinking to yourself, how does this help me as a trader? What does this have to do with me as a trader. And in fact, it doesn't just matter in trading. This matters in business, life, period, everything. But we're going to talk about trading because that's what we do here. Think about this. The result of where you are right now in your trading, whether you're a successful trader, a struggling trader, a losing trader, a pissed off trader, a happy trader, whatever it is 100% result of the decision you made. You made that decision, because that's one of the luxuries yet curses that we have as traders, is we have freedom, but with that freedom comes the responsibility of making good decisions, right? Perfect sense. So think about it. You make the decision on the type of stocks you trade. You make the decision on the kind of setups you trade. You make the decision on the entry, the exit. You decide as to whether or not you've made enough money on the trade and it reached a profit target. You decide whether or not you've lost too much money and you need to capitulate on a certain trade. So as the pressures move on with everything that comes with trading, what really matters is decisions, right? It's all about decisions, because I've said this 1,000 times. If you're sitting there right now and you've never traded a stock before, you have absolutely no clue how to spell the word stock. I'm sure you do. Again, just for the sake of conversation. I can teach anyone how to read a chart in 10 days. I can teach you in 10 days how to draw a line on a chart, find support, find resistance, and pick an entry. In 10 days, I can teach you how to do that. Now, certainly there's a lot more to it. You'll get better in time, but for the basic, again, for the sake of conversation, I can teach you that for 10 days. So everybody knows that relatively quick in their trading career. What happens, it's the decision part that screws everyone up. So if you have experience trading, you'll understand this. When you get into a trade, the decision comes to you, when will I exit this? Now you have a profit target in your mind, but how many times have you gotten out of that trade early because you made the decision? Because originally you had a decision that was going to, let's say the stock was going to trade to 55 because that was the technical analysis next resistance spot, and that was what it was. But you sold along the way before that for whatever reason. Maybe the market was going down. Maybe you didn't want to be in the trade anymore, but you ultimately made that decision, right? It was your decision. So think about it. A result of everything we do is the decision. If a stock goes down and you start losing money, how many times have we panicked? I'm not going to sit here and say I've never done that myself. How many times you panicked out of a trade? You didn't even let it get down to support. You just took the loss because you didn't want to be in the trade anymore. Me, before, we made that decision. We're the ones who made that decision. So a lot of times what we're doing is, this makes perfect sense, because one of the things we do sometimes is we have that clear mind when we originally make the decision. But as we continue to pile excess things on top of that, this is where it all ties in. As we continue to pile excess things on that, we sometimes, our decision-making capability gets distorted, So maybe you got into this trade and we were thinking completely clearly in pre-market. There wasn't a lot of news going on. The market was quiet. You saw it clear as day. Then you get into it and then your Twitter account's busting up, right? And people are talking about stuff and all these stocks are going up and down, your alerts are going off, somebody's asking you a question, or you're busy doing two things at one time, and then you lose sight of the original decision, and sometimes you're led to make a bad decision. And that's what this whole thing is about, is that sometimes we want choices as people. We want as many choices as we can. But then when we get too many choices, we don't know what the hell we're to do with them. Now again, this makes perfect sense because subconsciously years ago, I did this. And when I say subconsciously, I mean, I set out to make this a rule in my life, not knowing that this was what I was trying to do until I read this. And is that anyone who knows me, people in the trade room know this, people in my personal life know this, I make most of my money in the first 2 hours of the market. I've said that before. I've been very open about that. That doesn't mean there's not other things going on and I haven't made money outside of those, but that's my bread and butter. 90% of the money I've made in my life comes between that time. So years ago, I was like, anybody that knows me is, you do not bother me from the time the market opens for the first 2 hours until lunch. You do not bother me. My door is shut in my office. You don't come into there. I don't want to talk. I don't look at YouTube. I don't go onto my Twitter account and browse around stuff. I don't read my emails. 100% of my attention and my focus is right there making money, because I know I've got to do the best I can in that time frame, because if I screw it up, sure, I might be able to make money later on in the day, but it's not going to make me, I'm not comfortable like that. I'm more comfortable in the morning. I think you know what I'm saying. So, bother me. I don't want people coming into my room and saying, does this paint look good for the bathroom? What do you think about this tablecloth? I could give a damn about the tablecloth. Put toilet paper on it. I'm in the middle of a trade. So I think you understand what I'm saying. This also goes to another level when we talk about a very famous saying in trading, paralysis through analysis. Again, a lot of traders talk about this, a lot of trader teachers talk about this, is that if you have too many indicators on your charts, too much mess, too much data that you need to make a decision, what ultimately happens, you make a wrong decision, or you don't make a decision at all, because you have too much on your plate, right? So what you want to do is keep everything as simple as possible, free of distractions. Now, I'm not saying that you need to cook all your food, or maybe make a lot of money and hire a chef. I'm not saying you need to do that, or wear same sweatshirt all day. But in order for you to be successful, not just in trading, just in business, you need to eliminate the decisions in your life that are not as important. You got a goal and you're focusing on something. Elon Musk is sitting there trying to get a rocket into space. He doesn't have time to figure out, whether his tie is going to match, right? Doesn't have time for that. Buffett's running billions of dollars worth of hedge fund. He just drives through McDonald's and gets a sausage McMuffin before he goes to work. He doesn't have time to think about anything else. So that's what we want to do. Also, what I was thinking is that as I was reading this, it's saying that you only make decisions based on two things as well. One is pleasure. The second is through pain. And most of the decisions, not through pain, but the avoidance of pain. So the majority of decisions that a human being actually makes is because of the avoidance, because they're trying to avoid pain. They make far less on pleasure, but they're trying to avoid pain. Again, making perfect sense with the decisions, because if you're sitting there before, we've all been guilty of wanting to do something, right? Maybe you had a business idea, but you didn't want to leave your 9 to 5 because you want to avoid the pain of a weekly check, right? So you don't do it. You had your heart broken in a relationship and you refuse to fall in love again because you want to avoid the pain. Sometimes when we trade and we sell early, like I said, that's because the trade was painful and you want to avoid the pain of being in that trade, right? That's what we do. So when you're also thinking about, let me just kind of wrap it up. Let me wrap it up this way. It's important for us to focus on decisions. And it's hard to write down, these are the most important decisions I need to make in a day. Because many decisions, some of you guys have kids, you got to make decisions on the fly there. You got to make certain decisions about being a homeowner, where you're going to go on vacation, all that kind of good stuff. You got other people in your life that you're responsible for that you need to make decisions for. But there comes a period of time in every day that you've got to block out time for yourself and make yourself the most important person and focus on whatever goal that is and make the right decisions that you need to make to get you where you need to go. And during those times, you need to reduce the amount of decisions that you make other than what's focusing on your goal. So if you're going on a vacation and you need to talk about a vacation, tell your other family member, whoever you're going, we'll talk about that after the market. I'm busy right now. It may sound narcissistic. It may sound greedy, but you got to feed yourself. You're trying to achieve something, and you have to make those types of sacrifices. Keep your decisions smooth and simple. Don't clutter up your charts. Don't make trading complicated. Take your decisions and don't use them to avoid pain. Go to that pain. Start that business. Become that trader. Get out of your comfort zone. Get out of it. Make yourself uncomfortable. Scare yourself every once in a while in a good way. All these things, these types of decisions will make you more successful. You follow what I'm saying? Anyway, that's going to do it for me on this happy hour. That's all I wanted to talk about. Remember, it's about the decisions. And the decision I'm going to make right now is I'm going to drink the last little bit of this. That was a good decision. So, till the next happy hour, thanks for watching. Take care.